Recording?
Yes.
Okay, I think we're recording now. Okay, so we just tried to record this, and it wasn't going. We think Ivy may have stepped on a button. So our little kitten last week, she's running around, so forgive us if she's jumping into things. So this is part 2 of Why Work PRN. If you're not familiar, we're the PRNSLP Substack, so please subscribe to our newsletter on Substack and follow us for more updates. Last week we talked about why do PRN. That's part 1. If you have any overarching questions on specific things, go to our Start Here guide. Anything and everything related to most questions about how to work PRN as a speech pathologist are addressed and listed there. Last week we talked about some overarching themes about why working PRN makes the most sense, why this is a good time. And today we're going to touch on some bigger themes, specifically why right now is the best time to be working PRN.
Mm-hmm.
So
last week was more kind of about like quality of life, better life. To this is kind of more about the logistics of the current world we live in and how we got here.
Right.
And why being a PRN employee,
makes sense.
Potentially full-time PRN, makes a lot of sense given the current times that we're in and the future times that are coming.
It makes even more sense now than it's ever done before.
Correct.
So yeah, there's a couple reasons for this, right? But between now and basically the next 10 plus years, so 15 plus years, this will be one of the best times to work PRN. And the driving factors actually, it's kind of interesting, it's demographics. So let me take a step back, give a quick explanation for a historical context of where we are. In history, in most times, up until really the last couple hundred years, every single generation has more young people at the bottom of a base and less people, older people at the top of the base. So like I'm making a pyramid, right? So more older people at the top, younger people at the bottom, and middle-aged people in the middle, right?
Less older people at the top. Yeah.
Less at the top. So there's a more pyramid-shaped distribution, right? When we changed from working in an agrarian economy, so when you're working on the farm, you need as many kids as possible to help cultivate and grow the farm. When we transitioned over the Industrial Revolution to living on the farm, cultivating the farm, moving into cities, well, all of a sudden, the economics and the dynamics of having kids changes. That it's actually not as economically feasible to have kids in the city because they can't provide and produce like they can on the farm. So naturally, over time, generations that have moved to the city have less and less kids because it costs more and they're not providing as much, right? I don't think it's anything intentional, it's just a natural dynamic of like, it's just the way it works. Just how humans are going. So we're actually about to hit a period of time where we're going to hit peak population. So probably around the 2050s or so. The UN has reported that if you just follow the trend lines that we're kind of like going to go up, hit a crescendo point, kind of probably be there for a decade or two, and then start to slowly drop down a little bit. And this is happening across the world. It's not unique to the United States. It's all over. But it's industrialization and people working jobs in cities, right? It changes everything. What does that mean here? Specifically, the baby boomer generation. The boomers are the largest generation in American history. They're huge. And every generation after them is nowhere close in size to the total volume of boomers, right? The boomers are now entering retirement. So between now through the 2020s, most of the 2020s, maybe the beginning of the 2030s, most of them will enter retirement fully. I believe somewhere like, I can't remember the exact number, but by 2025, so this year when we're recording, I think 2/3 of them will be retired by now, and the rest will be retiring over the rest of the 2020s. So it's a massive number. As they go into retirement, right? Again, there are less and less people behind them. So there are not enough bodies to fill the same jobs and goods and services that the boomers were doing. So now the boomers who are working in the economy move over to retirement, and in retirement they still need the same goods and services that they're not even doing anymore. And there's not enough people to do that. Well, that means labor demand. There's not enough people. There's not enough people whatsoever. So what they're hoping for, and this is actually why AI and automation is a big deal, not just from being able to do things we've never done before in human history, but also if there are less people to do jobs and functions, it would be useful to have an AI, computer, whatever, to fill roles that we don't have enough people for. It just makes sense. The problem is that there are specific segments of the economy, like healthcare, where you can't have a robot do that job.
Right.
It's going to be decades before we're even close to that point. So that means places like healthcare are going to be a choke point. You're going to have all these boomers who are going to need medical assistance, medical services, that are not going to have enough people of your age and younger to fill those slots. What does that mean for you guys in terms of jobs and employment? That means the demand is so great, you can work PRN, meaning you tell these different companies when you're going to choose to work, and they're not going to be able to fight you because they're in such demand that they're like, great, you're going to work Thursdays at 2:00 and only those days, we'll take it. Thank you. Right? So this is going to happen all over, okay? And it's happening now, and it's only going to get worse. So anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'll just say, just from my side, looking at, seeing who my patients are now versus 10 years ago, I'm getting a lot more boomers now. I didn't have any boomers 10 years ago. I mean, it was the silent generation, the greatest generation.
Right.
And now here I am seeing all these boomers come in, and there's a lot of people needing a lot of help. And there's some of my jobs where they're grateful for anything I can give them hours wise. And sometimes, like, it's not that I'm being stingy. Sometimes I just don't have hours, like a whole bunch to give.
Right.
But what I do have, they're just immensely grateful for.
Right.
And they're so appreciative. And I've just noticed that shift over the years, because it's not that they weren't appreciative in the first, back when I first started 10 years ago, but that desperation for someone to come in and help ease the caseload and ease the work for the full-time person, or just even be the person that comes in and sees somebody because they can't, maybe they can't sustain a full-time person, but they need somebody to come. It's like a smaller facility. They'll just let me come when I can as a PRN employee and see who I can, and they're happy with that and they're grateful for that. So I've definitely seen that shift in the healthcare settings that I work in, and I'm sure you guys have too. So it's been really interesting the last probably 4 to 5 years.
Right, and we need to be clear too. So people are going to hear this and thinking, "Oh, great, I can just work whenever, all the time." There's still seasonality.
Yes.
There's going to be periods. There's higher periods and lower periods. So don't think in any one day you can just walk out and you can have a full workload. Right. It takes time to build up to have enough jobs in places where you can always slot the hours you need. The demand is there, and you can find that, but I just want to caveat this, right?
You have to kind of work it.
You have to work it.
Yeah.
So there's still some seasonality to this, right? There's times where it's most busy, and there are times where it's less busy, but there's always something to do somewhere. So the key is just being flexible to be able to do that.
Right.
So I don't want people having a false expectation that they can just flip a switch and day one they can walk out and have 100%. Now the reality is you could probably have 60 to 80%.
Oh, easy, yeah.
Real quick.
Right off the bat.
But don't think you're going to be replacing your full-time job day one if you've never done this before.
Right.
It's going to take time to build up, but you can do that and relatively quickly.
It's not as hard as it sounds.
Right.
It really, really isn't.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot there.
Yeah.
Another thing too, I'm just going to tease this, but it's a big deal. So one of the other components of this too, and just kind of an interesting facet, is that because healthcare is going to be such in demand, this is crazy to think about right now, but the politics around foreign labor is about to change. Because we don't have enough qualified medical professionals, we will start, and we actually have started to poach people from other countries, other doctors, nurses, medical professionals, and bringing them here because the demand for boomers is going to be so great. We can afford to pay whatever they want to come here. And even if whatever's going on in the politics of the United States, right? People want to live here.
They do.
It's still better than other places. So in that sense, we're going to have a lot of people coming. So you've had one of the ways this is going to play out practically for you is if you start working at a facility, you might notice more of the people are not even just Spanish speaking, but they're speaking languages from countries in Europe, Asia, or other parts of the world.
Lots of really good African nurses have come over that I've worked with.
You had one facility where you were saying there were 7 different non-Spanish speaking languages spoken by medical staff.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You're going to see more of that as we go forward. So we're going to get as many people here to work these jobs, and what we can't find, we're going to poach foreign medical workers to come here and help. So I think I saw the Wall Street Journal had a stat come out that said 40% of all, hold on, let me get this right. What is it? What's the role called? They help people physically do things in homes?
Aids?
Medical aids. 40% of those are not native U.S. citizens.
Oh, wow.
Today. That's today. So that's just the beginning. And it's going to actually probably get worse. Not worse in the bad sense, but it's going to be greater. There's going to be more of them come between now and probably the 2030s.
Because the boomer generation is so big, and they are going to have complex medical needs just as they age.
Right.
And they are going to need that level of care.
Right.
And we need people to help with that. And that's where being a PRN employee can be very advantageous for you.
If the demand is so great, we're poaching foreign medical workers to come here. How much demand do you think you have as an SLP to tell these companies, you know what? I don't want to work full-time. I'll work part-time for you, or I'll work PRN for you, and I'll do this over here and this over there, and that's all I'll do.
Right.
They're going to be like, okay, we'll take it.
Right. They'll take it. Yeah.
So
you have the power.
Huge demand.
Huge demand.
Okay. Yeah. Next point. Looking at my notes real quick here. One of the things that's happening, or let me give you the highlight. So the highlight is this. This is the point. The point is working PRN right now is the best way to protect yourself and have all the protections that you want and wish to have, but don't currently have. So, I mean, you've touched on this before, but if you're working at a place where they can cut your health insurance because they can't provide enough hours, if they can force you to take PTO on a month where they're low, if they can force you to not take PTO over a holiday and not pay you, right? During a busy season, they can tell you can't take time off, right? That's not, I mean, whatever it is, right? It's not fair. And I think there are a lot of court cases going through related to these kinds of questions. But what's interesting is, again, taking a step back, looking at a massive historical context, we're going through a political realignment. So in American history, every 50 years roughly, we actually have entire realignments politically of what we did before versus what we're going to go do forward. And we're about to go through one right now. And if you look at where we've been, it should be hitting roughly the end of this decade, so 2030. So it may start around 2028, maybe 2032 with the new presidential election cycle, but it's probably going to be somewhere in that end. The last time this happened was 1980s with Reagan, and the time before that was the 1930s with FDR. And there's this pendulum that swings back and forth, and one is more community-oriented, and then one's more individual-oriented, and it kind of moves back and forth. And in each phase, there are political things that happen that kind of emphasize one versus the other, right? So with Reagan, it was more individualistic. It was lowering taxes for wealthy people to have more money flow through the economy. Before that, we were in 1930s with FDR. We were coming out of the Great Depression. And so we were just trying to survive. And so we were trying to focus as a group, focusing on the tribe. And you can see this pendulum shifts back and forth. And it's happened this way at least 5 times in American history. And we're about to go through the 6th. So the way it looks is we're about to go through another pendulum shift, and it's going to shift over. And that shift is more than likely going to be focused, like FDR, on the community, about what helps everyone, what's most fair. So all the things you're seeing from an unfair standpoint of employer practices, about how they treat you and how they demand things from you that just aren't right, more than likely we're going to have a period of time over the next 10 plus years where those things are going to be rectified. That they're going to say, it's not fair, corporations, for you to tell employees they can't use PTO or that they have to use PTO or whatever.
Right.
They're going to address all of those things in some sense.
You can't cut somebody off from health insurance because you can't give them patients to see to give them hours to maintain that. That's not fair. It shouldn't be happening.
So all those little things, right? Those things are probably going to be addressed in some form or fashion over the next decade. But they're not here yet. So before they're here, right, for you to have the mental health, to not suffer from burnout, to be able to live the life you want, one way to guarantee that in a very practical way is to work PRN. All those same rights you want, all those same protections you want, all those same benefits, you could have more of it faster working PRN and controlling that dynamic with these companies. Because you have all the chips, because they need you more than you need them, you can dictate the terms of that relationship in a way that benefits you and protects you.
And that makes you better for your patients.
Well, say more.
Because when I walk into work knowing that I am in control of my life, I show up better. I'm a better person. I'm a better therapist. I'm more attentive. I'm more present. But knowing that I have protection for myself because of the way in which I work is huge. I know that my therapy is better. I know that my bedside manner is better. And I know that I have more mental energy and mental clarity to make good decisions for my patients, with my patients, and give them what they need and help them in the best way that I possibly can. So.
And that this could, now that I'm thinking about this, I'm going to say it here, so just hold me to this. But that actually probably could be a whole segment we talk about later on, is how much guilt and shame therapists have just because they're so burned out that they don't feel like they're actually doing the best by their patients.
Right. That's a huge thing.
That's probably a huge thing, right? So working PRN can allow you to get the rest and self-care you need in order for you to function in a way that you don't feel guilty whatsoever.
Right.
You're just doing your thing.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and I just know at the end of the day, I control my life. Like that's actually more hinges on that control. Like I'm the one who controls when I'm off, when I'm not, when I travel, when I don't, how many hours I work, all of those things. You want to sit here? Okay, you can sit there. Yeah, there you go. So that it's just, I am a better quality of a therapist by living and working this way.
Yeah. So working PRN essentially enables you to have those protections. So again, the spirit of the age, like politics, it's going to be changing. And we're about to enter a really funky period of time for a lot of reasons. I mean, if you're living through this right now, 2025, what's going on in the United States, you probably have seen from, depending whatever side of the aisle you're on, it just feels weird because it is weird. And it's going to be weird. And it's going to be weird for a minute.
Yeah, a hot minute.
It's going to work for a hot minute. So I've done a lot of research on different cycles through U.S. history and world history and things, and we're actually hitting multiple different major shifts happening at once. So this is going to be a big time. A lot of stuff's changing. It's okay. Just be prepared, but we'll get through it.
Yeah.
And that leads to my next point. So third point of why now is the best time to be PRN over the next 15-year period. Because of these weird times, right? There's a lot of specific stuff coming down the pipe that's going to be funky. So some will be financial, specifically inflation. So the price of everything is going to go up. After COVID, you probably saw a jump in things going up, right? Well, price is going up, right? That's about to be nothing compared to what we're going through. For a variety of reasons, and I can go into specific things, but as we're bringing all of our manufacturing from Asia, we're bringing it back to the United States and making things here, and this is just one factor. But as we do that, right, when we go to rebuild the same plants here, it takes years to rebuild, and we have to put to build them. Sorry, and we have to put our own money into that. That intrinsically means we're going to be paying more for the same goods and services that we once were paying for really cheaply. So things you could buy on Amazon that were manufactured in Asia that were like super cheap. There'll be probably a funky period of time where we can't get all of them, and we can only get what was previously made there and whatever's in stock here. And we're building the plants to make them here, but it's going to take a couple years before we fully make them. And then once we finally make them, and we're making these same products, they're not going to be as good initially as what we had coming from Asia.
Right.
So during that period, it's going to be weird and funky. The cost of things is going to go up. And I didn't mention this earlier too, but you guys being in such demand, so the wage or the labor restrictions, that there's so few of you for such great need, that also actually makes it more expensive. So you guys are actually also contributing to inflation because there's so few of you and so many boomers needing your stuff. So this weird period of time, there's going to be so many different funky things. Working PRN is going to give you two different things that are really important. One is that it's going to allow you to make the maximum amount of income that you want or need to get through this funky period. You're probably going to need more than you realize to actually get through. You're going to go to the grocery store or different places and things are going to be more expensive, or there'll be less options. And you're like, what do I do? And so having more income is going to help you just work through those things in the short run.
Yeah, I'll just jump in on that just for a second, because, if you're happy with your full-time gig and you're, that's fine. Just consider that there might be a really good opportunity if you need extra money, if you need Christmas shopping money, if you need extra grocery money, when things start getting crazy, more crazy than they are now, you can always pick up some other hours and add to it. And you could get paid more per hour for those hours. It's not like you've got to go get a job at like 7-Eleven and and get like minimum wage. You have that option, do the same job that you're doing for more pay, and you could supplement your income that way. Now you have to obviously watch yourself, make sure that you're not overextending yourself, taking care of yourself, but you have that option if you're in a pinch and you need to take care of your family and economic times are crazy and you need more money, you have the ability to go make that money for yourself when you need it and if you need it. So
no, that's, I mean, fantastic point. It just the freedom to go get more income.
Yes.
When you choose is a benefit you can have as a PRN that you don't get when you're full time.
Right.
You can't get more money. I mean, maybe they force you to work certain hours so you get more pay then, but like it's not a choice in the same sense.
Right.
You can have that choice and freedom to do that.
Right.
And the other side, that's kind of a interesting kind of caveat on this, but it's really important to understand is that, so there's one is maximizing income, but the other is maximizing flexibility. That going through this funky period of time, a lot of people, if you're listening to this, you're probably like Gen X, millennial, or younger, and you're watching this wondering, how can I work PRN? Well, for most of the people in those generations, you guys are in the sandwich generation. You've got boomer parents, and you probably have children, and you've got ones that are getting older and maybe need some more assistance, and you've got kids that are either younger or just need more day-to-day assistance, and you're kind of stuck in the middle. And working PRN allows you that if you choose, you can take more time to work the way you need to work in order to help both. It gives you the flexibility of that as we go through this funky period, right? And things are weird and just kind of unusual, that if you need more time off or need to work differently, you can have that.
Right.
And that this is just a unique period in time that having that ability is going to be so important. So
very much so.
Any other thoughts on that?
I mean, the thing too is just thinking about, if your kids are sick, if your parents get sick, having the cancellation thing with PRN is real. Like if there's sometimes in
what
the
do you
past,
mean? Which way?
that's what I'm telling.
Okay.
I'm going to say there's been times when I've woken up in the morning and I am sick, like sick, and like was fully planning on going in, that day, and I didn't feel anything the night before to where I would have had any warning, but I've woken up sometimes feeling sick, and I've had to text the manager of wherever I was going to go that day, or managers, and say, hey, I'm so sorry, I'm sick, I got to cancel.
Right.
There's no repercussions for that. So my point with that is, let's say that you're a millennial and you've got a boomer parent, then they're getting older and they fall and break a hip. Well, you can cancel your day if you need to go.
Or if you need to take an extended period of time off to go work with them, help them.
And you can cancel. And obviously you wouldn't just willy-nilly cancel, because we're good people. We try to honor our commitments and keep our word and things like that. But there is that allowance there. Like, you have that power to say, look, I know I was supposed to come in and help today, but I cannot.
Right.
And because you are PRN, you are protected from retaliation against that.
Right.
And in worst case scenario, if the manager or somebody gets mad at you, you can replace that company. You can go to a different company, and that won't guilt you. I've not had a really big problem with that. But when you were just talking about these like weird times with, if you have kids or parents, you don't have to take a PTO. You don't have to like start keeping track of when can I take off to take care of my sick child or my sick parent, or you just cancel, or you don't schedule something when you know you need to be available for something. And it's just, that cancellation goes both ways. Like, a company can cancel you too.
Right.
It's equal. It is completely equal.
Right. Because if census is low, they're going to drop you.
Right. And that's just the nature of it. But so you have to accept that. But honestly, it doesn't happen that often. I will tell you.
Which part?
With a last minute cancellation from a facility that I was supposed to work at. Like, very rarely I'll wake up in the morning and like one of the hospitals I work at, the manager, I'll have a message from the manager like super early and saying, I am so sorry. I know you were supposed to come in today, but we had a bunch of people discharged last night and now we don't need your help. Right. That's not her fault. Right. It's just the nature of it. And so they have that cancellation power too, which is why they pay you more, because they have to kind of compensate for that.
We'll talk about this more in like future things too. There are practical realities. You shouldn't just willy-nilly cancel.
No.
So you should keep your word. If you said I'll be there Thursdays at this time, you should be doing that. We're just saying, like, you don't have to burn PTO.
Right.
You don't have to tell them why you're taking off. All you have to say is, I can't come in.
I can't come.
I'm so sorry.
But like But don't be afraid to use it too.
Yeah.
Like I tell people all the time, like they can cancel you.
Right.
You can cancel them. Like, so there's been times where, that same hospital, they've canceled me a couple of times last minute just because they had a bunch of people just happen to go home. Well, like the very next week, I woke up sick that morning, was supposed to go in and help them.
Right.
I canceled them back. So it evens out and they can't complain.
And that kind of like jogged my memory on something I wanted to mention too. So we're in this weird time where you guys are incredible demand, but these corporations are acting like they used to act like where they had all the power. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is like the reality is they don't have all the power, and not all of them have fully realized that yet. Mm-hmm. And so the reality is, if you don't want to work, you don't have to. And guess what? They can't find people to replace you. So if you say, I can only come in at these times, if they're smart, and they will be with time, because when they realize that you're PRN,
and most of them are smart, most of them,
right? And when they realize that you're PRN, you can choose not to come in. They'll be like, when do you want to come in? What works for you?
Mm-hmm. They're much more deferential.
But
much more.
I think a lot of people who've worked on the school side, who've worked full time at one company, they almost have this mindset of thinking, I have to do whatever they want.
Right.
And the reality is like, no. You have so much demand. You can choose what works for you, and you need to orient your life, your work life that benefits you, instead of just doing whatever they want.
Correct.
You do what you want and see if it works for them. Doesn't work for them? Doesn't work. You maybe go to another employer who can do that. No problem.
Right.
But if it does, and it can in most places, because again, the demand's going to be so great, these corporations, if they're treating you that way, they're not wise into the fact that they need you more than you need them. Mm-hmm. And so you have to have enough self-respect to tell them and treat them like, no, I can replace you in a heartbeat, and I will.
And I've said that to some employers before, like, look, I could go somewhere else, easily get another job and get paid just as much, if not more, and get treated better. So either treat me better, right, or lose me. And most of the time they choose not to lose me. Right. And I would
because they'd rather have you.
They'd rather have the help, and they'd rather, and because they know they're going to need my help.
Right.
And even if it's a low season, they know when the high season comes up, they're going to need me. So, and I've found that to be the case with all my PRN friends. Like, the companies they work for are deferential to them. They say, look, we want you to come back. We want you to help us. We're not going to push you. And if you do, you just stand up for yourself and you have your boundaries. But
tell me if this analogy makes sense, because I think it does, though, is that it seems like we're entering a time where if they had a bucket with all the work that you species can do, right? That bucket is not even just to the brim, it's gushing over.
A lot of places,
and so PRNs come in and they pick up the parts that are falling out, right? Yes. But the problem is, again, the demand is so great, as the stuff is gushing out, they can't get enough PRNs to fill all the stuff that's falling to catch it. And so they're just like, we'll take whatever you can give us. Whatever you want. We'll help us pick up as much as falling out. Yeah. The full-times, they can't do everything. Right. They're running ragged. Right. They're doing as much as they can, but it's never enough. And it's not their fault. It's just there's so many people, so many things. And if those same full-times could flip over and do on the other side, like you all could work PRN and say, I'm coming at these times and filling it in.
Right. Because at the end of the day, we have to take care of ourselves. Like, if I'm not okay, I cannot be a good therapist. And I know I've said this earlier, but I just reiterate it again, because as people in helping professions, we often are the type of people who would put other people's needs over ours. Right. Which is a lot of reason we're kind of attracted to a helping profession like, nursing or therapy. So a lot of therapists just don't have enough boundaries around their own self, like their health and their mental health, and just have so much guilt around taking care of themselves. But I will tell you, I've been there. I've had the guilt, all of the things. But now that I'm here 10 years into working and living this way, I don't have guilt if I have to cancel because I'm sick, or I don't have that guilt because I know at the end of the day, if I'm not taking care of myself and giving myself the space to take care of myself, when I show back up to work again, I'm not going to do good work and I'm not going to be a good therapist. So I will always reiterate to my therapist friends in all disciplines, I don't care if you're speech pathology or OT or PT, you have to take care of yourself. And a lot of us don't. And being full-time PRN is a really good way to do that, to take care of yourself. If you work it the right way to where you get your hours, but you also make sure that you are taking the time that you need when you need it.
Because the reality is you can get, because you guys are paid a higher compensation per hour, you can make what you make in 40 hours in less than 40 hours.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, you don't have to work the full 40 hours if you don't want to.
Right. That's kind of what I do.
So.
Yeah. So that's the thing with this. You are in control. And I feel like a lot of things we say about why being PRN, why doing this, it all boils down to you are the one who's in control.
Right.
And how much better could that be?
Right.
Have you ever let yourself think about how much better that could be?
Right. So again, this is why Work PRN Part 2. Basically, the next 15 years are going to be the best time to be PRN. So why not take the leap? Either dip your toe in, go slowly, jump in, but do it in a way that makes sense for you. You guys are in such incredible demand. This is the best way to protect yourselves personally, mental health wise, everything.
It's sometimes financially too.
And financially too, yeah. And through these weird economic times, just having that freedom to make maximum income or maximum flexibility is going to be crucial.
Yeah.
So again, please subscribe to our newsletter. Go through Substack. Make sure you're on for as these come out. You get updated on them. Any questions, please submit questions there, and we'd love to have a whole thing to following up and answering questions. And if that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it for this one.
Thanks for your time. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Thanks for being patient with the kitty. Yeah.
See ya.
Bye.